Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining me again on Stand on Guard. This is your host, David Kraydens. So nice to be with you on September 10th. It's a beautiful Tuesday morning. Always starts that way in Ottawa. Anyway, we'll see what happens. My guest today is Kamel El-Cheikh. Of course, you know Kamel so well. He's the organizer and the founder of the Million Person March. Hands Off Our Kids is the organization behind this. This is a moving and shaking individual. We're going to be talking to him. Before we do that, though, I want to talk briefly about what happened to the Coutts 2 yesterday, but we'll be right back. So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need political change, but we also need the resolve to resist. Yes, please like that button. Like the like button. Smash it if you can, and please subscribe if you haven't. Thank you, yes, for the incredible outpouring of support yesterday. Over almost 300 new subscribers. Thank you so much. You appreciate the station. I appreciate you. We're fighting back against YouTube suppression. We did that yesterday, and I know a lot of you were interested in that topic about why on earth are we talking about an alliance with the Bloc, even if it's the Liberal Party, even if it's Trudeau. These people are, this is a treasonous party. It always has been. And I finally said it. This is a party that wants to break up Canada. This is a party that has no interest in anything outside of Quebec. I don't even know what they're doing sitting in the House of Commons. I'll say it again today. I have no idea why the Bloc is sitting in the House of Commons, because they are dedicated to breaking up this country. They have no interest in anything outside of Quebec. And I don't care. People say, oh, they work so hard. Yeah, they work so hard for their own interest. They shouldn't even be getting a pension at the end of it from Canadian taxpayers. And if Justin Trudeau's thinking about forming an alliance with these clowns, he's going to reap the punishment for that, because that is completely outrageous. Even his father, as flawed as his father was, and I say it all the time, I didn't like his politics, but at least he was a strong federalist who would not have played footsie with the separatists. As Justin Trudeau has indicated in the past, he's quite capable of doing. So I don't know if he's serious about this new pact with the Bloc, if this is all nonsense coming from Blanchette, Yves-Francois Blanchette, the leader of the Bloc Québécois, but better not happen. So Trudeau is out in his retreat right now in Nanaimo, as I said yesterday, drug capital of British Columbia, well, at least Vancouver Island. Know the city well. I used to live just north of there. And guess who's coming to town today? Mark Carney. But we discover that Mark Carney is going to be what? He's going to be an advisor. Maybe not finance minister right away. He's going to be advisor to Trudeau, and his job will be how Trudeau will win the next election. This is all a ridiculous game, and we know it. Not going to happen. Trudeau is not going to win the next election. In fact, it's a good possibility, good chance he's going to resign because of caucus pressure. And why? Look at this. Liberal MP says her constituents are very adamant. Justin Trudeau needs to go. So it's not just a few people in the back rooms. This is growing. Dissent against Justin Trudeau is growing, and it's growing by the day. Now, I wanted to talk briefly about the Coutts 2. This trial, the sentence came yesterday for these guys. Very, very tragic. 6.5 years. And there was apparently an audible gasp from the participants in the court. And I just find this absolutely outrageous that this has come to this. That's probably all I can say about it at this point. We'll be talking to Gord McGill later in the week, hopefully, about this verdict, or not the verdict, but the sentencing. At least they're going to get some credit for time served. You have to remember, these guys have been in jail without bail since they were arrested just before Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2022. 2.5 years in jail. The judge is somehow giving them 4 years credit. I don't understand that, but they're still looking at 2.5 years in jail. And they weren't even found guilty on the more serious charges. So this does not bode well. I hope not. Anyway, this does not bode well for Tamara Lich and Chris Barber for their sentencing. But I hope we have a judge here in Ottawa who is going to be a little fairer in her pronouncement and her sentencing. And I don't think they're going to be found guilty. I don't think there will be a sentence, because I believe that the Freedom Convoy trial in Ottawa is a vindication of our freedom, of our liberty, and Chris and Tamara are going to walk free from this. I've said that from day one. Sure, certainly, if you've been watching that trial, you know that there has been no evidence at all against them. And I believe they will be vindicated and found innocent, and not guilty will be the verdict. I believe that strongly. And I think most Canadians are hoping and praying for that verdict. So hopefully what happened in Alberta yesterday will have null and void effect on that. But we're here today to talk about freedom triumphant. Freedom is marching on, and it will march on despite a few setbacks. It will march on with Chris and Tamara here in Ottawa. It will march on with the million-person march. And my guest today I'm bringing in is Kamel El-Cheikh, my friend and a fellow activist in terms of fighting gender ideology. I am primarily a journalist, but when it comes to gender ideology, I am in opposition to what the state has been doing to our children. So, Kamel, thank you so much. We're about 10 days away from the second annual million-person march, September 20th, Friday, September 20th. Be there, people. If you're in Ottawa, Parliament Hill. If you're in a provincial capital, go to the legislature. If you're not in a provincial capital, go to the local mayor's office. I think those are still the rules, but I'll open it up, Kamel, with this very simple question. What can we expect differently, or what can we expect this year in terms of what the million-person march is going to offer? What's it going to look like this year? I think that's probably the question I want to ask.
Hey, David, thank you very much. What can you expect this year? A lot of confident and very angry parents. Obviously last year there was a marriage between Christian and Muslim Canadians that's unprecedented in this country. And generally we intermarry, we work in the same fields, we're neighbors, we pay the same taxes and we complain about the weather, but we never, ever in this country work together collectively in human rights. Sometimes we do it by like simultaneously by accident or whatever like that. But now we've been working together for 14 months. We have the triumph of the 1 million people march last year, David, with 1.5 million Canadians marching from coast to coast. Then we had the success of My Child June, which was the counter to Pride June, which boycotted the whole Pride campaign throughout June. And parents, were boycotting the Pride flag throughout the country. And there was a 50% average participation throughout the country, some schools being at 90%. So parents are increasingly confident. Pride June had to go to Pride Summer, and that failed. And so now they're going on to other campaigns that are succeeding. And some of them are the Palestinian protests, where Palestinian Canadians are, protesting what's going on in the Middle East. But they're trying to get another momentum somewhere. And they're hoping to bank on rallying some people to counter with them. So this year, we're looking to beat that goal of 1.5 million. By year 6 or 7, we're going to be very aggressive. And we're hoping to get to 38 million Canadians from coast to coast. So it's very aggressive agenda.
Wow, 38 million.
Yes, sir.
That is that's absolutely astounding objectives. I think this year people are wondering if we're going to have the same amount of enthusiasm. It was a new phenomenon last year. Lots going on, but I've said to people, I said, look around you. Do you see history happening? We have the Prime Minister again on the ropes. We have Justin Trudeau on the ropes right now. And this is a guy who has been driving so much of this gender ideology. Now, it's quite true that a lot of this gender ideology in the schools is a direct result of school boards at the municipal level. And this is a provincial matter. Healthcare is a provincial matter in Canada. But Justin Trudeau never misses an opportunity to talk about how supportive he is of this so-called gender-affirming care, which, of course, is not care. And it's destructive for kids. Puberty blockers are destructive. Sex changes for 10-year-olds are disgusting. But Trudeau never misses a chance to promote this material. And he's on the ropes right now. He's at a retreat in Nanaimo, BC, as we speak this week. His leadership is being tested. Well, if there's anything called leadership coming from Justin Trudeau. There's Liberal MPs calling for his resignation. He's got another by-election coming up in Montreal that he's probably going to lose, just like he lost the one in Toronto this summer. And he's lost his coalition partner, and Jagmeet Singh, the NDP, is backing away. And then now there's talk about the Bloc Québécois replacing him. But that's a pipe dream. I'm saying freedom is on the march. That is my personal slogan. Freedom is on the march, and it's going to culminate on September 20th with this million-person march for children. And I know we're going to see enthusiasm on the streets. But I want to bring this up now because I hear this all the time from people. They're saying, well, are we going to have static this year from people who are not there to oppose gender ideology, who are not there to oppose the LGBTQ agenda in the classroom, but want to talk about foreign policy? I put it that way in a very general way because we know what we're talking about. We're talking about the war in the Middle East. Yeah. It has divided Christians, Jews, and Muslims in various ways across Canada, across North America, across Europe. We are going to this march not to talk about foreign wars, not to talk about what's happening in Gaza, but to talk about what's happening in your child's classroom this September.
Absolutely.
And I, as the master of ceremonies, I want to state this unequivocally. If anybody takes the microphone and wants to talk about the war in Gaza, I don't care if you're Christian, Jew, Muslim, Sikh, or Hindu. I don't care what your religion is. And I really don't care what your perspective on that war is. I'm going to take the microphone from you because we're not here to talk about other issues. It is of paramount importance that we talk about how children are being violated in this country by gender ideology, how parents are being sidelined. Even though we've seen progress in Alberta under Premier Daniel Smith, we've seen progress in Saskatchewan under Premier Scott Moe. We've seen pushback in New Brunswick. But we're still seeing an acceptance that somehow children as young as 10 should be allowed to have sex change operations, or that they should be allowed to change the pronouns and not even tell the parents. I just read a story the other day from Ontario, Kamel. This is shocking. This is supposedly a conservative government in Ontario that says it's all behind parents, but there is an incident reported to the National Post where a child was allowed to change her pronouns, and the school actively worked to prevent the parents from knowing. They worked with the local school board to prevent the parents from finding out. And of course, when the Ontario government's contacted about this, they just simply say, well, that doesn't sound very good. That doesn't sound right, but we really don't know what happened here, because they have a hands-off attitude. They don't really want to know. They don't want to get involved. They think this is a muddy issue and it's going to cause unnecessary controversy. So I put a lot out there for you to chew on. Maybe we could start with we're going to focus on gender ideology and gender ideology alone at this march, right?
Absolutely. Like the Canadian fabric, remember, there's over 160 countries that immigrated to this wonderful country that makes the fabric of Canada. It started off with the First Nations, and then it was the French and the Irish and the English and the Dutch and Arabs and Asians, Muslims 102 years ago. So you're going to have a lot of opinions in this country. But one thing that Canadians know how to do from coast to coast is engage in idea meritocracy, where you can agree to disagree. You can have peaceful dialogue. Now, do some Canadians go a little overboard? Yes. Some people that I hold dear to my heart, as a matter of fact, some reporters, engage in that seditious rhetoric, right? So, and I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. I won't go that route. But what I would say is, we are in a country where you're allowed to agree and disagree freely. But once you do that, you got to remember that we are still Canadians. We still have our own domestic issues. We have our kids. Our kids are being targeted, and they're being. Now, for example, I can give you the Senate appointment by Trudeau with Dr. Christopher, with a K, Christopher Reid, I think. That man is a PhD in one of the universities in Alberta, I believe. I'm still getting to know what kind of person he is, but in researching him and getting advised by him, by my political advisors in the movement, I noticed that this man is an expert in fabricating things in the Christian faith and doing the same things in the Muslim faith. So what do you think Trudeau is trying to do? He's trying to give us the Al-Faruqi fabricated, homosexualized Quranic hadiths, and he's trying to do the same thing with the Bible as Jesus is trans, God forbid, or Jesus is gay. So these are the threats that we face. You named a prime example, David Krayden, where, a kid was targeted and, the government's kind of hands off. The only approach we're doing in the movement is we're going to say to you, hands off our kids completely. And we're willing and committed to building it the litigation route by trying to build the biggest litigation team in the country. We're willing to do it through our affiliates and NGOs that are already fighting. As a matter of fact, we've been, engaging with prominent powerhouses. Like just recently, I was on the phone with, conference call with Theo Fleury of Canadians for Truth. Mm-hmm. And we have an agreement how we're going to deal with trauma. We just named a spokesperson by Dr. Ann Gillies, who is our chief therapist in the movement. We're looking to expand that team to deal with Canadian trauma, whether it's a Canadian targeted in the Muslim community and similarly a Canadian targeted in the Sikh or Christian community. And we're also going to have the support of clergy. Now, we built the interfaith department, not so religions can say, my religion is better than yours, my church is bigger than yours, my mosque is bigger than yours. We are using the power of clergy. And, depending on your faith, if you're an Orthodox Christian, we got a pastor that works along with the science to help parents cope, at the same time to hold the education board and governments accountable.
Well, that is so good to hear. And while you can barely see me here, there we go.
Oh, there we go. The sun is coming out.
the sun is
what
coming
a
out.
bright day.
But it must be a sign.
It looks like you're coming from heaven, David.
It does. This is almost miraculous. But are we going to see any political leadership at this event in Ottawa? I mean, last year we had the leader of the Christian Heritage Party was there, and of course my good friend Maxime Bernier of the People's Party of Canada. And if anybody wants to come to the mic and say, I'm here to support this event, you bet.
Absolutely.
If Jagmeet Singh is there and he says, I want to support this event. And
no, I challenged them. I challenged them, David. Thank you for breaking up the coalition. So you're not worried about your pension. You might give Pierre Poilievre, a minority government. I'm okay with minority governments. That means Canadians are in control and we can hold our politicians accountable. But Jagmeet Singh, last year, 1 week before our million people protest David Crayden, he brought his baby to the House of Commons and he's showing off his new baby and he's showing off how great of a father he is. Mr. Jagmeet Singh, I saw you on the counters and you looked me right in the eye and you challenged families, which is a hypocritical thing. So, Jagmeet Singh, I'm going to invite you to our side. Will you side with parents? Will you side with the mothers? And just like the mother that brought you that beautiful baby that you were showing off in the House of Commons, there are a lot of Canadians that have beautiful babies. You should come to the other side and check them out and say hi to all of them. Those are the people that are going to be electing you if you dare to go to an election.
Well, I recall last year when we were, it was chaos on the street because, of course, we weren't allowed to get off the sidewalk, if I recall. And then we had that counter demonstration across the street that was trying to attract attention.
Oh, we scared them away.
and Jagmeet, of course, was there for that side of the debate. But he had a little bit of an altercation with you, if I recall.
He copied one of my commercials. I said, if you dare to counter us, look into my eyes. He did this to me, and then he looked away, and I scolded him. I got to be honest. I was looking at parents. I was looking at Christian, white, Muslim, Black, you name it, First Nations. And these are parents shocked, and they're showing off their kids, and it was a beautiful day. And he came to crash the parade and rain on it. And I looked him in the eye. The police held me back because I was very loud. I'm a very passionate guy. And I'm pretty loud when I get extra passionate, right? And I looked him in the face. And you know what? I got to admire him. He had some courage to come out, but he was on the wrong side. And, I wanted, and I applaud Maxime Bernier from the PPC. He came and supported us. I'm going to acknowledge that. So did Rob from the Christian Heritage Party. And guess what, guys? You want to come again, you're more than welcome to both speak. And I'm also welcoming Danielle Smith from Calgary, Alberta, from Alberta, to come to Ottawa and walk with us and celebrate the wins you have for parents. You didn't do enough yet, but you're on the right path. Again, we're a nonpartisan movement. And that means whether you're a liberal politician or a conservative or whatever you are, if you are looking to get elected in our next election, then you need to be on the side of families. And we're not politicians. We're a humanitarian Canadian initiative. Whatever the government might be, whether it's blue or red or black Québécois or whatever that is, we will move forward and we will continue to be the Terry Fox of Canada and the Vimy Ridge. That's what we are. We're just Canadian, one nation and one flag.
Oh, that's it exactly. And yeah, I hope we see, and I'm not in any way predicting this is going to happen, or I'm not in any way telling people that to anticipate this, but I hope Pierre Poilievre, leader of the Conservative Party and the next Prime Minister of Canada, I think that's quite obvious. He's 20 points ahead of Trudeau, and that ain't going to change before the next election. If he shows up,
David, he will be allowed to speak. Do you want to be Canada's Prime Minister, Mr. Poilievre? You've said some good things. Axe the tax. Hey, look, we're all listening here. Again, I'm not campaigning for you or for anybody. I'm campaigning for Canadians, my country. I want our kids. I want to liberate all of Canada's kids. And I know, Pierre Poilievre, you're married to a Venezuelan Canadian wife. You got some beautiful kids, they call that the $1 million family. Do you care about your grandkids, Mr. Poilievre? It doesn't matter just about being Prime Minister. I know last year you didn't show up. And I'm going to call you out on that, Mr. Poilievre. I waited for you. And I waited for all of you. Okay? Justin Trudeau was quick to write us off as a bunch of transphobes and domestic terrorists. Shame on you, Mr. Trudeau. But you know what? I'm going to call all the Liberal MPs that care about this country to grow a little spine and walk with parents too. This is a nonpartisan movement. We are the Canadian flag. And if you guys want to have any future in this country, to be elected in any way and any capacity, you need to walk with us. And again, David will give you the mic.
Well, you know, that is so appreciated. I want to say at this point, if you're watching this interview, share it with your friends and family. YouTube is suppressing the numbers. I'm just looking at it. Does it every time. YouTube does not like us talking about this 1 million person march. They want to keep the numbers as low as possible. We're not going to let them do it. We're going to fight back as we do every time. So please, let's get those numbers up, people. Let's fight back, because this is a march for freedom. This is all interconnected. I can't say that enough. If you're upset about what happened in Coutts, Alberta, with the Coutts 2 yesterday, if you're upset about what happened in Alberta, if you're worried about what's going to happen to Chris and Tamara, this is about freedom. This is all about freedom on September 20th. It's about the freedom of parents to stand up and to be parents. And it's about being Canadian. You know, I'm so sick and tired of people saying, you know, why are you working with Kamel? You know, he's a Muslim. I said, yes, he's a Muslim who agrees with me on just about everything.
I apologize for being Muslim, David. I apologize. But I'm also Canadian. I mean, it seems like I'm coming from Saudi Arabia or Timbuktu and coming to liberate Canadian kids, and then just take my flag, put it down, and leave the country, right?
I want to tell you people out there, you know, if you're a Christian or a Jew or anything else, I don't care. I'm an evangelical Christian.
God bless you.
You know, and I have worked with conservative Catholics over the years on pro-life issues. I'll work with Muslims on gender ideology issues. I'll work with Sikhs and Hindus because there's social conservatives there. I'll work with people of like minds who are fighters for freedom. And if you think it's just going to be one faith and one religion that's going to take back this country, you're blind. You're delusional. You're as delusional as Justin Trudeau. And this is why the globalists, and why the Liberal Party, and why Trudeau puts out these red herrings for us to fight about, to divide people of faith so we can fight about it. I mean, look how ridiculous this is. You've got Muslims demonstrating with Antifa. You've got Christians and Jews
demonstrating with Antifa too.
I mean, it's absolutely crazy, because these people have nothing in common. They have nothing. Their thinking, their ideology, their politics is diametrically opposed. But this is the craziness that the liberal state, the woke state, has brought to us.
Well, there is some tutelage in our beautiful country. One of our principles at Hands Off Our Kids that we are one nation under God, David. What do we mean by that? However way you get to that God, that's none of my business. That's freedom of consciousness under the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. That's also the ability to congregate with people of like religion. And that's also the ability to engage with the media and talk about your religion. That's engraved in the Charter. That's engraved in the Charter. Now, there is a vested interest by foreign intelligence and tutelage in this country, because Christians and Muslims married each other 14 months ago, and they're not going back. As you can see in the groups, David, you're watching the groups. I'm always, assigning a Christian a massive position. I got agnostics in there. I got Sikhs. I got Muslims, and we're working together, and we're not listening to that noise. This is the product that we're giving Canadians, is a patriotic movement. I'm sorry to be a Muslim. I wish I was Christian or white. I'm an olive skin. I'm not even black or Asian. I'm sorry to disappoint you. You're expecting an ISIS, Allahu Akbar, chop somebody's head off, Sharia law to Canada, Hamas, whatever, come on. We're at a point in life where I went to Carleton University, David, and I dealt with the same thing. 2001, I was 21 years old, in my second or third year university, economics, accounting, and political science. And there were friends of mine that I grew up with, played baseball, Ottawa South, played hockey on the pond. So how's your Uncle Osama doing? A couple of them. Now, there's always an idiot in the group, but everybody else is like, Kamel, you don't have to say anything. Don't listen to him. Osama bin Laden is a Saudi Muslim who worked for the CIA. My origins, my parents' origins are Lebanese. So we're not related by geography. They're out there. We're that way. It's like saying to an Irish, you're related to a Dutch because both of you are white. So
Yeah.
I had to say, do you? They were telling me, do you condemn what Osama bin Laden did? Of course, I condemn what he did. I condemn what they're doing everywhere. I mean, but who am I to speak on that behalf and on that end of the world? It was 3 o'clock in the morning when I was studying for, I think, fourth year economics class, and I watched those buildings go down. I was shocked just as much as you. I had my jaws dropped. And I was out a pot of coffee because I had an exam the next day. So to have to explain myself because I'm Muslim, what about being a resident of Ottawa South? I mean, tell me about that. Does my faith always have to be in question? 2 billion Muslims? Here are some of the cognitive dissonance that's going on in this country, David. I made a list of them. I call them seditious baits. Okay? So, and here's how they start. White fringe, often misogynist, often racist, white supremacist, domestic terrorist. What are they trying to do? Silence all our fellow Christian and white Canadians. Sharia law to Canada, Islamists, terrorist sympathizers. What are they trying to do right there? They're trying to silence all proud, patriotic Muslim Canadians in Canada. Here's the other seditious baits. Palestinians. The Palestine issue. They want to bring Palestine to Canada. No. Sikhs are actually talking about Palestinian rights taken away from them from India. They're just protesting as Sikh Canadians concerned about family there. So that's to silence the Sikhs in this country that love this country, right? And then you have Prophet Muhammad married a 9-year-old Aisha, and he's a pedophile. That's fabrication to tell us that we're fighting all these pedophiles. We fought the Olympics of disgrace for Jesus, and you guys are promoting pedophilia. And now there's misinformation about the prophet, peace be upon him, who said, married to a 9-year-old Aisha? That's haram. Aisha was 20 or 21 years old. Talk to Muslim clerics on that to clarify it. Okay? Another seditious bait. Jesus is gay. Jesus is trans. God forbid. What are they trying to do right there? Silence people that are making the heterosexual argument and that are just trying to get rights for parents. Transphobe, homophobe, trans rights are human rights, you bigot. So again, I call these seditious baits for a reason, David. They're meant to silence us. They're meant to make tutelage, wreak havoc, and then break up this beautiful initiative. My goal is to preach love in a time of hate, order in a time of instability, and certainty in a time of uncertainty. And I'd like to beat that 1.5 million from coast to coast, because my goal by year 7 to 10 is to get the 38 million people marching on this annual march.
Like I say, that's a grand objective. And I want to say this. If you haven't heard Kamel speak about what it means to be a Canadian, and I've heard him several times now, and I think what really stuck in my mind were your words at the One Nation Under God rally in June, and how you described just growing up in Canada and being a Canadian. And I thought, this is something every proud Canadian would say. These are the feelings of a patriotic Canadian. And let's stop trying to divide people over religion. And what really, really infuriates me is when the left and the woke left suggests this march is something about hatred, has something to do with hatred. And it's mind-boggling to me, because there's no hatred here. We are trying to unite people of all faiths. We are trying to say that this is a nation, this is a movement, this is a march about love. And you just said it. This is a march for love for children. which Justin Trudeau doesn't love, which the woke left doesn't love. They don't love your children. Parents love their children. And this is a march about love. There's no hatred here. And that is the lowest blow from the left possible, to say this is somehow about hatred. We don't hate anybody. We're fighting back as parents. We're fighting back as Canadians. And that's what this is all about. Do you anticipate, Kamel, we're going to have the counter demonstration this year, which was organized, by the way, by public service unions,
yes,
especially in Ontario, that got together on a secret phone call, which I exposed in a story in the Post Millennial a couple of days beforehand, saying these people were colluding and conspiring on a Zoom call to disrupt the 1 million person march because they deemed it to be hateful. Are we going to experience that again this year?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, David, they tried, first off, when they started that kind of stuff, they belittled us. They didn't think we were going to get 1 million. We got 1.5, and then they're like, uh-oh, we got to go back to the drawing board. So that's what happened with that. And then they saw My Child June, where we completely annihilated Pride June. Now, again, we're not looking to oppress homosexual, trans Canadians. We're not looking to paint everybody with the same brush. You go to work. I worked with you. I was your boss. You were my boss. It's not about that. What you've seen is momentum. And so what do they have to do? They have to target the leadership of the movement. You see smear campaigns against me personally all the time. That's to discredit me as leader of the movement. Number two, they're going after the leaders of the movement and its core. They're challenging the system. They're challenging the executive orders, everything else, and how it works, and that hierarchy and the decentralization. And they're challenging how we do things. We are very highly organized, and we're going to continue to do that. And then they also have government plans that play with some of our superstars' minds. And that way, they tell them, hey, look, maybe you're better. You're supposed to be there. You know what I mean? So there are some people with sinister motives that can't think past their face. And all they can do is, and these people have kids, all they can do is think about how are they going to go viral by taking a shot at me personally. Or, making their TikTok accounts or whatever accounts go viral and piggyback what we have for them on the biggest platform in the country. We know this, and so we're trying to manage everybody. This movement attracts the best people in the country, David. It also attracts people with big egos. And those people, sometimes you have to manage their egos. And that's incredibly difficult, but I'm willing to shoot on people's egos, bring them down to humility. Because as leader of this movement, I pray 5 times a day, brother. I put my head on the ground, on the dust, to remind myself I'm in a privileged position, brother. And I'm part of a great team of humble people that you will never meet. You probably met them in the background, that are very powerful, but incredibly humble. And that's good Christian and Muslim and Sikh Canadians.
Well, I've been reporting on social conservatives in Canada for many years. I've been involved in some of these movements. And until you got this started, I was at the point of saying I'm fed up with dealing with a lot of these people because they're grandstanders.
Yeah.
And it's all about their own promotion. And it's all about raising money that never really gets used for the right purposes. And it's all about their own egos, as you said. I'm not going to mention any names. We all know somebody
we know who they
who
are.
fits the category. But I was fed up with social conservative activists.
Yeah.
And I said, because they always let me down. And because I'm not wasting any more time with them because they don't want to work with anybody else except their own little enclave, their own little group of people.
And they're very nice to you for a couple of months. Use your platforms, court your own people. You're taking my resources. You're in my house. And I'm giving that to you because I love you unconditionally. And then you come in, you tell me what I want to hear for 5 or 6 months. And then all of a sudden you hit me hard and you hope you go viral. Some of them get 1 likes. one or two likes, good luck with that. It's just a
Yeah.
disgusting behavior. And there are some people traumatized, and all they want to do is just feed their egos and get viral. You know what? If you do a good thing, ask and it's given, seek and you shall find, my brother. Go read it in the Bible. In the Quran, it says the same thing. Call on me, I answer you. Just ask for it and be sincere. Sorry, continue, David.
Well, yeah, I'll probably get us out on this one, because it's when I met you and I discovered you were working on this million-person march for last September. I said, here's a guy who wants to work with everybody, and who's not saying, no, I have to work with my favorites only, and this is all about me at the end of it. And this is somebody who dispersed the credit as broadly as possible, who talked about uniting people of all faiths, bringing everybody in. And if you want to help, come on and help. But we're not here to advance your own ego. We're not here to just advance your own little platform. And I said, yeah, this is somebody I can work with. And I really think this movement has a chance of taking off and getting traction and attracting 1 million people. Because a lot of people talk about, we're going to have 1 million-person march. Yeah. And not easy to do.
We did it before.
I had my doubts. I said, hey, I don't know if this can, but I said, it's worth a try. And it's worth a try because this man's heart is in the right place, because he really wants to work for Canadians, for Canada, and for children. And this is all about giving. And so I said, yeah, this is something I can support, and I'll do whatever I can to make this successful. I was glad I did so last year. I was glad to be a part of it. Happy to be a part of it this year. And I'm
glad to have you promoting
it as much as possible, because I think this is, what are we here for except to fight for what we really believe is important, and that includes children. I have my own personal experience. I've been wounded by the gender ideology in the schools. I won't go into details. Those of you who know me well know what I'm talking about, in terms of having been wounded by policies that are out of the control of parents. Watching the state take control of your children's life, it's a horrible experience. And it's nice to know we have an option to fight back now. So, 1 million-person march this September 20th. If you're in Ottawa, go to Parliament Hill. Let's have a huge crowd there. Let's have crowds across the country, and let's surpass that 1.5 million. And Kamel has said several times, his organization is bigger and better this year.
75% bigger in terms of personnel. You've seen it, David. I'm going to make an announcement this morning. We have a logistics and security advisor now. So we're going to be very carefully orchestrated. We're looking to hire ex-cops, retired cops to be our security teams throughout the country. We're already working with ex-cops and ex-cops organizations. So yes, we're going to be very powerful that way. But also, we're building this transcends you and I, David. It's for your grandkids and their grandkids. What I'm hoping, a few generations down the line, when we're down below, 6 feet down below, back to dust, brother, what I'm hoping is they pray for us and say, thank God there are people that had this foresight, this vision to think and build this fortress for us, so we can have that security cloak, the cloak that secures our ideals, our patriotism, the Whistler BCs, the schools, parents. This, what is a mother stuff or birthing persons? No, they're females. Only females can have birth, and it takes 9 months. I know, my wife gave me 3 of them, right? So that's what we're trying to do. Now, we did register the charity. We didn't even have time. It's actually a not-for-profit corporation, because I want to be able to speak everything about Canadians. We are a not-for-profit corporation. The email is hookfunds@gmail.com. We are taking donations. Now, remember, you don't get a tax receipt for a nonprofit corporation. We're going to need all of Canada's help right now. We're looking to build structures that allow for multi-faiths to come inside. If you're an Orthodox Christian, there's a room you can pray in and come and meet with us. And outside, 2 or 3 acre lots for rated PG, family-friendly activities. And we are looking to build the Children's Festival of Canada, which should be up to a week old, right? 1 week duration. That's highly fluid. So what we're trying to do, anything I've promised in our speeches, anything we've done as a team, we're trying to put to practical use, David. And that's what we're committed to. We built the education wing. Why? Education ambassadors. Our goal with that is to penetrate an education ambassador in every school in this country, holding teachers accountable so they don't betray parents. And with those education ambassadors, we already had several woke teachers fired, and some of them resigned from the boards as well. And I can name a few. I've got a lot of intelligence reports on that kind of stuff. Do we have failure? Absolutely. This is a marathon. It's not a sprint, David. If you're going to run a 41-kilometer marathon in the 14 months, all those big wins that we got, we probably ran about 400 meters only. There's a lot of road left, David.
Well, that's what you always tell me every time we speak offline, and I think that's probably exactly where we should end this. This is a marathon, but we are on the road. We're on the right path. And we have the energy and we have the stamina to keep marching until we find the freedom that this country was originally all about and will continue to be all about, because
Amen.
of Canadians of all faiths who are united in love, not hatred. And it's the people who oppose this march who are the ones who've got the hate problem.
Absolutely.
Kamel El-Cheikh, you are a wonderful Canadian.
You too.
And I say that to anybody out there who says, well, but there's a problem here. No, there's no problem here.
Okay.
The problem is with you. And the problem was with any Canadian who doesn't think we can reunite on the issues that really, really matter. And I can tell you that's what the left is afraid of, that we can't unite. And we are uniting with the Million-Person March once again. Friday, September 20th. What time should people be at Parliament
8
Hill?
a.m. sharp. We need people at 8 a.m. Take time off work. Take your kids out of school. Pack their lunch, because we want you there all day. Push it to 6 too. So, but we need you 8 a.m. sharp, because guess what? The government paid counters are going to come at 8 a.m. We're going to own our Million People March. It does not belong to Trudeau. It certainly doesn't belong to the woke counters. And it certainly doesn't belong to the pharmaceutical companies. It belongs to Canada's families and its children.
Right on. So we'll see you there, Kamel, September 20th. And all of you listening, get your people out. Come on out and support Canada, support your children, support parents, and support freedom. Thanks for watching.